Everything's coming up greener.
Here's Harold Matthews. He is
The Garden Doctor. The Garden Doctor.
Now, we had a woods that we eradicated poison ivy from years ago out behind Evelyn Wilson's and a few other places up through that valley up there. Way back, this has been 15, 20 years ago. And back then we didn't have all of the products that are on the market. But it was an undertaking. We did it for 3 consecutive years until finally we got all the mother plants out of there. We got all of the vines that were the problems cut, and we treated the base, and we finally were able to get it out. Now, once it's out, taking care of it is much less of a problem, because you will go around, you might find a sprig over here and a sprig over there coming up, but very rarely are you going to be reinfested on a large scale. But it is a task. It is definitely a task.
So get the mother plants, get the mothership.
The mothership is very important to identify, and I don't care what vine it is going up that tree, it is negatively affecting that tree, so get rid of it anyway.
Yeah, so it'd be a good idea to get a landscaper or somebody that knows what to do that work.
Well, yeah, just anybody that you can, I'll tell you what, if the guy says poison ivy doesn't bother me, grab that fella.
Yeah. And get him to pull it.
And take him to the yard. You don't have to hire a specialist. Take him to the yard and you point to it and you say, I want all of that cut off. And, and the grapevines, you want all the vines cut, because they are just as much a nuisance, because you can't get in to treat the poison ivy if you don't get rid of the grape, and if you don't get rid of the wisteria and all of the vines that are in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's growing up old elm trees, rotted trees.
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
All over the place.
It'll take over.
Post and.
The largest vine that I've ever found measured 11 inches across. 11 inches a vine.
The trunk part?
The vine itself was 11 inches across, and I had Dr. Matthews from Purdue come down, and we took some samples of it and everything else, and we figured that one vine was responsible for toppling over 11 trees. It had gone up and grown out into the canopy, and it just toppled. It eventually killed the trees and tipped them over. So
it likes to vine up trees and stuff that you can vine up, right? It likes to grow upward. Or does it just will it mat on the ground?
No, it grows up. It always grows to the sun. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if that's growing out from the shade and growing out into your yard, or growing up a fence post or across the fence. But yeah, it tends to grow up, and the mother plant is never on the ground. The mother plant is always up as high as it can be. And the fruit is amazing how much seed is produced. It can be astronomical, but if you just get rid of all the mother plants, then then your eradication is going to work.
Well, okay, I thank you very much, Doctor.
Well, thank you for calling. Make sure that the product that you use says brush and poison ivy control, and if you're going for the stump, it has to say brush.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for staying up late with us. I don't know if the garden doctor's going to make it or not. I start getting a little weepy-eyed about 8 o'clock.
Well, we still haven't eaten yet, so.
I'm getting off a week there. Okay.
So what else is going on?
Well, we had this, of course, everything. Please, really, take advantage of this bicentennial thing, because this is really amazing.
Neat.
It's not going to happen for 100 more years, so get out there and enjoy it. Look, there's got to be something on that list that everybody can enjoy. I found 5 things just glancing down through it.
And we'll be really old the next time.
And you will be. I don't know. I don't age. I was the same. Looked this way back in 1851.
Well, let's look at our wedding pictures again.
Yeah, give me some pictures. Give me some questions there that have come in. We really have had hundreds and hundreds of questions, and I want to apologize to everybody that writes in, everybody that calls in. we don't get to every question.
No.
But the bad thing is we don't bring those questions the next time.
I know.
And I had a gentleman write in to me and he says, okay, look, I've sent in 5 questions. Not once have I been on the show. I said, well, call me. He said,
What he
and
says
I
he doesn't
quote,
want to call any.
I will never call in on any show ever. Okay?
But-
and you are not allowed to use my real name. But he did have a question. for
Okay,
us.
so tell us what
I'm not gonna. His question is going to the bottom of the pile.
There you go. Okay, I've got Ryan from Liberty wants to know if he put on weed and feed in May, does he add more weed and feed again now?
May, June. We're only June now.
We're June now,
If
July's
it's-
coming, yes.
If it was early May, gee, that works like that. May, June, July. How about that? Anyway, if it was early May that you applied this, and we've had 2 or 3 rains, and you're seeing weed infestation, don't go out and spray for beetles if you don't have beetles. Don't get a pterodactyl gun out if you don't see any pterodactyls. You
That's
know,
brilliant
if
advice.
there are no weeds in the yard, don't use a weed and feed. Just go get a feed.
Some fertilizer, granular.
And let me tell everyone again, I've said this over and over again, just as important, if not more important than fertilizer.
I know what he's going to say.
Not more important than
Oh, imagine that.
then weed control is check your pH. And check your personal pH too, because that's a very important thing. But check the pH of the lawn, and if the pH is not right, add some lime. It will do as much good as fertilizer and weed control. And then please, whatever the height of the mower, it will go. Put it up there.
Mow high. I knew that's what you were going to say.
3.5 inches, 4 inches, I don't care. If the grass is still standing up, that's where it should be mowed. Because the taller you mow, the less problems you have. The more shade on the roots, the less evaporation, the
You
less
choke
weeds.
out the weeds.
You choke out the weeds. You get just mow high, would you please?
He wants you to mow high.
Questions?
Okay, next question. Bill from Connorsville. When is it?
I know you, Bill.
You know? How do you know it's
I
him?
know
It
Bill.
could be a different Bill.
No, there's only one Bill.
Wants to know if it's too late to plant tomato plants. He's been preoccupied with other projects and the garden has just gotten forgotten. Please verify it's far too late for any of the wife's posies
I know the wife too, Bill.
that I have to plant and weed and feed and get not one speck of fruit from. Is it too late? Please
It
say yes.
just so happens that that lady makes an excellent gooseberry pie. Okay?
Oh.
So there is no way I'm going to tell you it's too late to plant posies for her. Also, if it is too late to plant tomatoes, then the garden doctor just messed up because only yesterday
Oh my gosh,
I was
pitiful.
out. Yeah,
Pitiful.
we don't have a garden that to speak of.
And most of our friends know we usually put out a bigger garden than what we
Massive
can maintain,
garden.
really, because we like to plant, we like to grow,
500
but we don't like
pounds
to
of
weed.
zucchinis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have a few ladies who come out and pick this and that and the other. We give a lot of it away. I've brought some down to the senior center, but this year we have
Well, we
zero
had so
garden.
much stuff that went bad last year
I
because
know,
we
well-
just didn't get it to people. People wouldn't come. Yeah, I'm going to come pick them. They didn't show up. So
Well, I know. So I have 3
frustrated.
tomato plants in 3 pots. They're actually in containers. I didn't even put them in the ground. But he got one half, so a few cell packs of tomato plants and just threw them in the ground yesterday. So
yeah, I literally threw
threw
them
'em
too.
in the ground
and these things
yesterday.
were root bound. I don't know if
Yeah.
they're going to make it or
All right,
not.
2
but
tomato
it
pots,
is not
that's my
too
garden.
late to put out tomato plants. As a matter of fact, I put out tomato plants as late as the middle of July, and I've had success with them. But you got to look at the tomato. You want the shorter, get the ones that are Tom Thumb, cherry tomatoes.
come on earlier.
Yeah,
you don't wait forever.
even Early Girl. Early Girl is a good. I hate Early Girl. It's a
I know.
terrible tasting tomato.
But
But get one that's close to Early Girl, okay? And put it out.
gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see. Diane sent and dropped off a note actually in your truck that she has specks and spots on all my plants. It looks like ringworm and sunburn combined. They're on the daylilies, iris, spiderwort, beets, tomatoes, even some of my ornamental grasses. What's up, Doc? That's
They're on what?
you. Everything.
Beets, tomatoes, and grasses, and daylilies? looks like ringworm and
Yeah, sunburn.
you're very descriptive.
I don't want to have that condition
Ringworm
ever.
and sunburn.
So it's a red and
That
then a
sounds
circular.
like a song lyrics or
It
something.
sounds
Okay,
like contagious.
I'm wondering if perhaps you haven't overwatered or over-fertilized, or the plants that you're speaking of are in a stress environment of some kind or another. Because most of those plants should not all share the same thing all at the same time.
Unless it's a
However,
water or air or soil thing.
well, it also could be from a lack of compost. You know, one of the things that we don't take into consideration is a plant that has no nutrients can't fend off all of these diseases and insects and all of these problems. We've got to provide, and I'm not talking about artificial fertilizer here. I'm talking about all of the spectrum of nutrients that are necessary.
It should be found in good potting soil or potting compost
But
mix.
it has to be refreshed.
Right.
It has to. I'm real concerned. You know, in New Hampshire now, they vacuum the ground. You've seen it.
Yeah, yeah.
When they log, they don't cut a tree down and cut the limbs off and pull the log out. They take everything. They take the leaves, the brush, everything. They chew it up.
So how does the soil
Yeah, exactly. I have no clue how that's going to happen.
generate? And
So, in your garden, you need to put compost out. I don't care if it's leaves. I don't care if it's the stuff down here at the landfill. Make sure that you let that set for a while before you put it directly on your garden. But you've got to have some kind of a nutrient base to replace what is in there. We used to go down to the horse barn and get the manure. Back when I was a kid, we used to go to the
I'm
chicken
not
farms.
doing that.
We used to go to the chicken farms. We used to go to the horse farm, and we would put all of
No.
this stuff on the garden to refresh it, and all of the clippings and the old hay and everything. But now we just try to do it with artificial fertilizer. We have a color, and whenever we have a color, we stop whatever we're doing and we
All
go directly to
right.
the color.
Well, hello, caller.
Hello, you're on the air. What can we do for you?
Hey, Harold, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Not bad. Hey, I want to tell you that I was by Codarns out there on 1, and you've done a fabulous job out there.
Thank you. We don't seem to be done yet. We just
No,
keep right
you're
on.
not done yet.
Keep right on pecking away.
Okay,
Oh,
but
wow.
my question is, you was talking about tomatoes.
Yes.
And I bought some Beef Masters, and
An excellent tomato, by the way. Excellent tomato.
I think that's one of
There's
the two I have.
tremendous flavor in that tomato. There is good acid balance, and you get a lot of meat in it. I like that.
yeah. Well, my question is after the plants started growing and everything, the top leaves on it started shriveling up on 2 or 3 of them. 2 or 3 of the other, 2 or 3 more of them was okay.
When you took those plants out of the cell pack and put them into the ground, was it a mass of roots in that cell pack? You know what I mean? When
All
you,
wound up.
No. They were. You had to be careful, or it would crumble
Oh.
apart.
Okay. Do you smoke?
No.
Anybody in your family smoke?
No.
I knew
Okay.
he was going there. He accuses me of ruining my tomatoes every year.
Tomato mosaic is a real bad
He
problem.
says nicotinosis or
And,
something.
yeah, well,
I
no,
know.
you get it from the tobacco plant,
I
and
know,
it
sorry.
is really, really bad. If you are a smoker, please don't go out and handle the tomato
Pick
plants.
your tomatoes,
Wash
plant
your
the tomatoes,
hands,
all
wash
of
your
that,
hands
yes.
first in vinegar. Wash your hands in vinegar before you go out and handle the tomato plants if you're a smoker. Okay.
Now, what
so
else could it be?
You have leaf curl on the very top, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's usually an indication of 2 things. Either the root structure is bound or it's saturated. Now, it also can happen with an air pocket, but I think
Could it be an injury from planting? I mean,
no,
something
it's 2 out of
the
2
way
out
he's
of
talking
5.
about the curling. Okay.
No, that's generally the curl. If it's not a fungus or a disease that is causing it, then I'm assuming that it's sometimes you can't pinch them, but I'm assuming that when you put them in the ground, you drowned them real good.
Yeah, got to water them in. You did that.
You mudded them in real good.
After,
I planted them and then we watered them, yes,
Okay.
but I didn't overwater them.
Okay, they should be mudded in. They really need to be almost floated in water so that all the air pockets that are around the plant are saturated with water so that the water causes the dirt to cave anywhere that you may have left.
yeah, I know that
a pocket
initial
of air.
watering you've said is so important.
But let's say that you did everything right. Let's say that you flooded them in and you've let them dry out. They're planted in the sun, which is, of course, important to reduce the disease. They've got good air circulation because air is another thing. We tend to plant plants that are confined, and some plants don't like to be confined. Tomatoes is one of those. It likes to have the breeze blowing back and forth. Also, tomatoes like metal. If you put a metal fence, a metal post, when you're adding support to them, this picks up the electrostatic nitrogen that goes
Say
directly
what?
into the plant.
No
Oh yeah, this is very
Really?
important. And then they found that red plastic laid down on the ground will increase the reflective value of the sun, and it increases the production of the plants just using red plastic laid down on the ground.
Well, it could also be that maybe if you're saying it was either maybe they were overwatered in the cell packs before he received and planted them.
Well, that's possible,
No?
but I think that he's done. This is not somebody that's done this just once. He's done
Right.
this for a lot. So, and in the past, he's been very successful, and now he's noticing that there's a difference. So,
It's sort of like some type of something got onto them and burnt the top of them.
well, that's what I was going to say. Before you got the plants, it's possible that there was either too high of a nitrogen fertilizer used to spray the foliage to give them a little kick, and that would have been on the top leaves, or an insecticide fungicide type combination, one or the other,
Too
could have
strong
been
or
sprayed
something.
that was just a little bit too strong. And it also could have been something as simple as watering the wrong time of the day. If the water lays on the plant, that can cause them to be more susceptible to diseases. But
Just
it can
like
also,
roses will get black spots
Right.
if the water doesn't get to dry off the
if
plant.
it's watered the wrong time. And in a nursery environment, a lot of times they just have to water when they have time to water. But the water can act as magnification and can actually cause a burn and a
Okay,
curl
burn
in
the
the
top.
leaf. So there's a lot of options there, but how long have those plants been in the ground?
Probably 2 to 3 weeks now.
Oh my God.
Are they growing and doing any
Yeah,
good?
yeah, they're growing. It's just the top of them look. It reminds me of a sage bush.
Okay, totally different. They've been in the ground 3 weeks and they're doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to get a insecticide fungicide combination because they're not producing fruit yet, right?
No.
Okay, I do not like to use chemicals on my tomatoes within 2 weeks. If they say within a day, they're nuts. And I don't care if it's organic or not
I'm not
organic.
touching it for a couple weeks,
Don't
and then
put
I'm washing
anything
it.
on that tomato, and if it has a little spot in it or something, some bug wants a bite
We'll
out
cut
of
it out. No,
let
no,
them have a bite. But right now, it is very important that you put it on because there's a real bad disease out there. It's called railroad disease. Why, I don't know. But it turns the plant almost black after the curling goes on. And this is a real bad situation, and then it progresses down the plant. The commercial growers are getting it, and it's just wiping them out. They're having to change
So will
varieties.
7 dust help that?
What's that?
7 does?
No, 7 will not touch it. Neither will rotenone. I'll get it right. Neither will rotenone or the only thing that I can think of in an organic that might work would be baking soda. If you use baking soda, garlic oil or garlic cloves, and some oil to make a base, the baking soda you'd probably use about 2 tablespoons. Let's see, what's the formula? 2
Oh, wow, I
tablespoons.
don't know.
2 tablespoons of baking soda, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of like a
Well, that sounds like a lot of
cooking
trouble.
oil.
Can't you buy something?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to
All right.
go organic here though, and you can't really buy the organics
I
that are
know.
worth the hoot.
And Bear has some great products, I know, but it's
Well,
I don't know
but
that it's
those are not the
organic.
products you would use on this
Okay.
particular problem.
Well, I have all the wrong answers tonight.
But if you okay, you want the garlic, you want the baking soda, and you want the oil. The oil makes it stick. The garlic is a repellent for the insect that carries the disease, spreads the disease around, and then the baking soda would be for the disease. And then the last thing that you need, I'm missing something.
Baking soda, clove, garlic, oil.
There's something I'm missing there, and I can't. It's not vinegar because you don't use
No,
vinegar
never,
in that
never.
combination.
Vinegar is a weed killer.
I cannot honestly tell you there's a third product that I'm missing, but if you take that and you allow it to set in about a pint of water, this will ferment and disperse into the water, shake it up a little bit, and then spray that on the plant. That's the only organic method that I know. But
But
if
it is
you
a
don't
disease.
mind using a non-organic, if you go to the nursery or feed down there, you know, somebody that knows what they're talking about. Tell them what the problem is that you have and tell them you want an insect disease control for tomatoes in early stage growth, not in fruit production. This is a little bit more powerful stuff that you're going to get. Dust it on there or spray it on there. It comes in both forms.
But is it a fungus, a disease?
It is
What
a
is it?
disease, yes.
Okay.
That you may have 2 or 3 different things that you could have. You don't want any of the 3.
Okay.
Contaminate the other ones?
Only if there are insects present that will move from plant A to plant B to plant
Which is
C.
possible.
That's why you want to use an insecticide, and that's why you want to be careful, touching one plant and carrying
Will
it.
Could
they
you,
affect beans?
Infect
What's that?
beans?
No, this disease will not affect beans whatsoever. The lady that had the earlier question about a multitude of plants, that's a difficult situation. It has to be environmental. It cannot be
All those plants
a
affected at
disease
once.
that would affect all of those plants in the same way.
So this is a tomato disease. It's not
This is
going
a
to spread
disease that
to...
would be nightshade family, and the nightshade family is extremely unique. It's toxic to all insects. It's toxic to humans, but the fruit that it produces is not, only the plant. So there are many insects that won't get on a tomato plant, but if they land there, then they will transmit the disease,
fact,
and you can transmit the disease.
Tomato leaf spray by making a tea, and then you making a tea with the tomato leaves and using it as a spray is actually used for killing aphids and mites on rose bushes and that
Yes,
kind
it
of
is.
thing.
And
So,
it's
yeah.
extremely effective too, by
Yeah.
the way. I don't know if we've helped you, but you really do have
got
a
a problem.
situation that you need to address right away with either an organic, look it up on the internet, there's an organic combination for disease and insect.
But you want an insect and disease
You want
control
both, yes.
for pre-fruit production
Early
tomatoes.
stage growth,
Or
pre-fruit
mix
production.
up,
All right.
Got it?
or mix up
Or
some
mix up, yeah.
baking soda, garlic, and oil.
Right. And dish soap. Dish soap is the third thing.
A little bit of dish soap, not
And
a
the
lot.
reason you use the dish soap in there is because it tends to loosen
Cleanse.
up all of the other stuff, but it also dissolves the shell,
It kills many insects.
exoskeleton
yeah.
of
it
the.
eats up the shell of a lot of insects, so
Yep.
that kills them in that
so
way.
that's the other product.
Little
you need.
little bit of dish soap. I
2
remember now too.
tablespoons of soap, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 2 tablespoons of an oil, like a cooking oil, and then crush the cloves. Don't
I
just
think
put
what the
cloves of-
recipe I saw was you crush the cloves in the oil.
Yeah, but that's
And then let it
use
sit,
you can use
and
diced garlic. You don't need to crush all of it. And you also, but you do have to break the
All
cloves.
those ingredients organically should be the trick.
And then you're making a tonic out of that. and
Sure.
spraying it on.
Well, my wife's trying to write it down, so it's 4 cloves of garlic.
2.
Two.
4 cloves of garlic. Yes, you're
Yeah.
correct. 2 of the baking soda, 2 of the oil, 4 of the garlic, 2 of the soap, and then you put that in about a quart of water.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you
Hope
for
that
the
works
call.
out.
She really does better than you do.
Go on about
Talk to
yourself.
you later, Harold. Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Have a wonderful day. Appreciate your call. Hey, I guess there's a few of you that have stayed up late, so
Yes,
we
there
appreciate
are.
that very much. We have another
Maybe
caller.
we need a later time slot. I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor and Mrs. Garden Doctor. How can we help you?
Hey there.
Well, I just needed some information, actually. I
Okay.
think I missed your plant sale last year. You guys have it at your shop or your house?
Yes, yes.
Actually, last year we didn't do it.
Because of the drought last year, we did not have it. No, you didn't miss it. We did not have it.
No.
We got a lot of calls. We got a lot of people stopping by.
because we used to do it every year.
And we
have
apologize.
great
We should have put a
daylilies and-
sign out. We really should have run an ad in the paper said we're not doing it because of the drought. Now, everybody is used to the last weekend of
Usually it's the last weekend in June.
First weekend of July.
But because of your beard,
well, because of the
I
festivities of this centennial.
but we are having our plant sale that we
We
used
just
to
moving
have.
it up a week,
Yep.
so I apologize to everybody
But
for the
it's the
confusion.
weekend of July 6th and 7th. So watch for the ads in the newspaper, what have you. We'll take care of that on the side. But thank
and
you
sorry,
for asking.
sorry for the ad. Sorry for the ad. Thank you for calling. Thank you for asking.
thank you.
All right, we will see you the 6th. What is it?
July 6th and 7th.
I didn't know. I had no clue. Okay.
Yep, that's
Thank you
it.
very much. Appreciate your call. All right. I do hope we were able to help out those first 2 callers because they really are experienced people, and I really like to hear from people who have done it over and over.
And see
because
something weird,
You
yeah.
notice the difference between what is
Sure.
normal, what is common, and that's very important. And that's I was talking to an old customer, about 4 years ago. And he said, Harold, I just can't get out and pick off my bagworms anymore. And he said, I knew of a time when there were no bagworms in my entire neighborhood.
Really?
And I said, well, how could that be? And he said, well, because everybody would walk the street, and if they saw a bagworm on a neighbor's tree, they would go pick it
No
and just
kidding.
move along.
Sure,
And
because it's there.
they
Yeah.
were doing a service to everybody, to themselves, because then they didn't spread to
Nobody
the
does
neighbor,
that.
but nobody does that. Nobody's going to walk in your
Most
yard
people don't know what they
and
are.
pick a bagworm off your
Anyway.
tree. You get shot, or they'll call the police.
I believe you have another caller.
We have another caller. Can we help you? You're on the air with the Garden Doctor and Mrs.
Hello.
Garden Doctor. Hello, can we help you?
I have a question.
Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you have any hummingbirds at your place?
Oh,
Well-
you know what? I've got 3 questions like
Yes.
that came in. Yes, I did have 2 hummingbirds.
What's up with 2?
I called the Audubon Society, and they said that we have lost as much as 40% of our hummingbirds.
Well, I believe it by the looks of our feeders.
Now, there's 2 reasons why we lost them. 2 years ago, the hummingbirds were coming north, and the frost was coming south. And they met at the Kentucky line. It killed all of the insects, and therefore the hummingbirds had nothing to eat on their migration back north, and there were rows of them that died. Then we had the wrong winds. Hummingbirds actually travel on the winds, and they are so light and flap their wings at such a rate that they go up into the clouds and they just float with the clouds south when the migration takes them all the way down to South America. And then when they come back north, they need the winds, and they do not have the proper circulation of wind to bring them back. So,
Well, let's ask the caller. Have you noticed fewer hummingbirds at your feeders?
I've only seen about 2 And then sometimes I don't see any. I keep filling the feeders and emptying them and cleaning them and filling them, but I don't see the birds.
Just nothing like last year, right?
Nothing like. Did you have good birds last year?
Yeah, I had them last year.
Yeah, same here.
How many average would you have?
Oh, I don't know. They buzzed around so fast I couldn't keep
It's probably too many to count, though, right? You know.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
we have talked to people that have as many as 20 feeders out. Can you imagine?
Well, I only have one in the back and one on my
And usually that's all you need. You'll see several every day, but
But last year, I talked to people that said that if they put out 2 feeders, then the neighbor had no hummingbirds. And then the neighbor would say, okay, we'll put out 1, you put out 1, kind of thing. But yes, it was such an impact last year that I called the Audubon Society, and then I called them again this year.
and there's a real
And they said-
reason for it.
And you know what? I think they're 40% may be optimistic. I think we may have lost 60, 70%.
because
At least
we're
we
just
did.
not seeing them like we did last year at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
something definitely happened.
Have you noticed any other birds that are reduced?
No, not really.
You
Did
still
you have
a-
robins? Good
Yeah,
robins?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed an increase in the bluebirds. And I
Well,
noticed, did you
I
know?
live in town, so I don't have
Okay,
any
yeah, you
bluebirds.
don't get the bluebirds.
No.
We have wood ducks and pileated woodpeckers and
The
I
girls
just
love the red cardinals. They see those all over.
and right in
Yeah.
the back we have about 25 nesting cranes at the top of the
we
sycamore
see them
trees.
flying around sometimes.
And they are,
Yeah.
I think they're sandhill, aren't they?
I don't know the name of
I
them.
believe they're sandhill crane, but I thank you very much for your call, and that is an extremely important thing. We're losing.
But keep feeding them because what few are out there
Well, I
still need to
didn't
be
know whether
fed.
to keep wasting sugar.
Well,
making
Should
sugar
we keep
water
feeding
for
them? I
Yeah.
mean,
Now the Audubon Society does want everybody to know not to use red dye
No, I don't use anything. I
and
just use
not
sugar
to
water.
feed them too late. And the reason for that is sometimes we can hold them back from making their migration. But you know what? I can't tell you when to stop feeding them. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But they did tell me that. They said,
Well, you better go back to school and then you can be the bird doctor
There,
too.
no. Thank you very
Well,
much for your
I'll
call.
I'll keep putting them out.
All
There
right.
you go. And
Okay.
call us
Help
back
'em.
and let us know how it works. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. You have
you
a
very
wonderful
much.
day. And you know the Garden Doctor Show. Yes, that's what this is. But we love the wildlife. We love the animals,
Definitely.
the birds, and we definitely want to hear about it. I don't want to hear a thing about moles in your yard. Can't do anything about it. So don't ever call me if you have moles.
I haven't been able to train my dogs to kill them yet, so I can't rent her out yet.
It's just.
Speaking
it's
of which, I
terrible.
had a gentleman stop me in the grocery store the other day and asked me how Super Mighty Tiny Dog is doing. She has had some issues here lately, and she's getting old. She's anywhere between 9 and, I don't know, 14 years old.
We adopted
We're
her,
not
so we
really
don't
sure,
know.
and she's had some problems getting around and up and down, doesn't see so good, and all white in the face, and she's got heart disease now, so she has to take heart medicine every day for her enlarged heart. But she is doing okay. She has not lost her drive to eat. She has not lost her drive to go out a couple times a day. She gets excited, and she still wants her treat at night and barks at Daddy till she gets it. And she still drools over my yogurt cup when I'm done. So she's doing okay. We're just dealing with it one day at a time, and knowing she's getting old. You expect that to happen, but she's our girl as long as we
And
have her. So
She's being kept young by the other one, who
Oh,
has
yes.
not slowed down
No.
even a little bit.
she has
so.
a little brother who drives her absolutely nuts, barking in her face. Oh, he is annoying. That's your dog.
He's not annoying.
Yeah, the
He's
annoying
my dog.
one is your dog. The good one's mine.
We've had so many calls, and we appreciate every call that we get, every
Yes.
message that we get, every note. I just had a gentleman track me down here just a few minutes ago, well, just earlier in the day, and he kept following my truck around, and finally I pulled into some place where he could catch up with me. And he said, "Look, I just want to ask you a question."
And if you beep at him, he doesn't look because
I'm
everybody
not being
beeps
a
at him.
stalker
So he
here. I
just
just
keeps
wanna-
driving, never even looks.
But
you can beep all
seriously,
day.
I'm out till dark and go again in the morning.
I have a question that I get
Yep.
to ask you on the show because you're too busy to answer my questions any other time. But are herbs perennials? Now, you know I have my big herb garden in the backyard.
Oh.
It's a raised bed, which is actually a tractor tire. Awesome raised bed. But my chives have come back. Of course, the mint, you can't get rid of the mint.
Yeah.
And the sage came back. And
If you're going to grow
that's
mint, let
it.
me tell you something right now. Grow it in a container that it can't get down and around and out of.
Yeah.
Don't let it flower and go to seed.
And don't let it out of the pot. And what he means is keep it in a pot, but bury the pot.
Get
and
a,
it keeps
get
it
a nice
confined.
big plastic pot this big around,
And
yay
bury
deep.
it.
You know, you can cut some big holes in the bottom for drainage and everything.
Yep.
Put this thing down on the ground. Let the lip stand up about this high.
Yep.
Then you'll reduce
And if
the
it ever
spillover.
shoots one sprig outside of that pot, get rid of it quick. So
Yeah, but cut the seeds off. Don't let it go to seed. In our garden, it's choking
I
out
know it
my
is. So why does
hosta.
the sage comes back? But I
Some
lost
of the sage will come back depending on the
and
temperature.
the chives, and they make a beautiful ornamental.
Chives
actually.
I use in landscape all the
Because
time.
the
I
pretty
love
purple
chives.
flowers,
Well,
or-
and I like pinch and sniffs. I put a lot of herbs in my landscape.
Well, I'm not a big cook, but I do like to go outside and be able to snip some oregano, some parsley, some chives.
She
It's
is
very
not
nice.
a big
Don't even
cook.
start
Oh,
with me
sorry.
because I'm a good cook. I just don't
She's a
do it
good
very
cook.
often,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
All right.
All right. So
No throwing stuff. I see what you're doing. So,
bottle almost
apparently all herbs are not perennials.
no, there are some herbs that are perennial and annual. You can buy the annual version
there's two.
or the perennial version. And always look on the label if that's what you're looking
Well,
for.
the sage came back.
But most herbs will be invasive to some extent if you allow them to be. So an herb is meant to be planted and snipped and cooked and cut and used and stuff. But if you're just using it for ornamental purposes, then you want to encourage everybody to take some with them.
Sure.
So go out there with the scissors when the people come and they visit and cut off some sage and say, "Here, you have to take this."
Now, usually
Leave with
my
this
dill
blade.
usually comes back. I didn't even get any dill back
You know
this
what?
year.
Dill will come back for about 3 or 4 years. I've noticed that, and I love dill.
And
I
nothing
throw
this
dill
year,
seed
yeah.
out everywhere. In the,
Not a
'cause
sprig.
it always reminds me, I had to cut through a little bit of a dill patch to get to my aunts who cooked the pastries in New Hampshire when I was little. And when I smell the dill, I always assume that I'm going to smell some turnovers or
Isn't it
pie or
amazing how
something.
your memory
It's
associates
all
something to a
with it.
smell? Yeah.
And I love pinch and sniff in your garden.
I have my chocolate
Somebody-
mint came back. I have it over in that other planter, chocolate mint.
Yeah, well, somebody else I planted chocolate mint for wish that you'd go get all that they've got. But
It's a mint. It takes over
there
too.
is strawberry mint, lemon mint,
I have
peppermint
lemon mint.
mint, spearmint mint. There's all kinds
It's
of
all
mints.
invasive then.
Yeah, but you know what? It's great to go out there, take some kids out there that are come visiting, and snip this off and
Well,
pinch
sure.
this, and
Or I
get
cut
the
it way
oils.
back, pull out what I don't want, throw it in the grass, and then we mow it.
That's right.
And
And
it
then
smells
when
good.
it's time to mow, you want to throw it out there and mow over
Yep.
it because it's going to put that
Smells
fragrance in
great,
the air.
sure.
Make some satchels up. The pinch and sniff is just a great thing. I love doing it. Yes, other questions?
Other questions.
We're always getting harassed because we don't get to all
Well,
the
I
questions.
have another question since I have
Oh,
him in my
see, you know
possession
what?
at the moment. Our fruit trees are loaded this year. Last year, there was nothing on any of our fruit trees. Now, the cherries came and went. I never got out there and got them, and that was the end of that. However, I have
Big
peaches.
cherry tree covered.
I know, I'm sorry. Peaches coming on like crazy, but on many of the branches, and last year they were like too crowded or something, on many of the branches, there's 3 little peaches on one cluster.
Yeah, you want to pick it down to one.
And
If
the
you-
whole branch is, getting heavier.
Yeah, peaches are famous for this. They will bust themselves in half to try to produce. And there are years when they rest and there are years when they produce
Yeah, nothing
heavier.
last year.
But I think that part of it had to do with the bees. We had an
the
almost
drought
complete
and-
absence of bees, and
Right.
we had the drought. We water, however. So because we water, we kind of
Well, it's
don't
got to
have
be the
a
bees
drought.
because look at the berries we have coming on too now.
Oh, yeah.
They
The-
are gangbusters.
I was complaining about the bees. I was trying to get a beehive, and I was standing in the backyard, and I heard this unbelievable humming going on. And my son was standing there with me, and he starts looking around, and he starts seeing it, and he takes off running. And I've got a bright yellow, orange, or yellow shirt on, greenish yellow, and the bees
green, whatever,
are
same
attracted
thing.
to that. Oh, just never mind. They're attracted to that color, so they were landing on me.
Yeah,
and then
they
there was
were.
more of them, and then there was more and more and more, and right beside me there was a shrub, and they
covered this cluster
were
like,
massing on it. We have pictures that are
and
just
they stayed there for
phenomenal.
hours. They didn't
They
move
stayed
on
all
to the
night.
yeah, till the next day.
And they were swarming, and this is a very common thing. And the queen was in there somewhere, and there was this big giant. They were this tall and
like
this
a
big
ball
around.
hanging out of
And,
the shrub.
It was just fabulous and
Very
fascinating.
cool,
And
yeah.
all the ones that landed on me were just resting. They were in the swarm.
Of course, he's calm as a cucumber. The boys are
Oh,
freaking
I
out. They
love-
need to get out of here.
No, I the closer I got, the more you could feel the energy of this bee. But when something like that happens, that they're not going to be far away when they do find their location that they're going to, and hopefully it's going to be close enough so that they will
Do their jobs
do
here,
their job
yeah.
in your yard. And I've noticed an increase of about 200% of the bees that are
That's
actually
great.
in our garden.
Well, our fruit trees are doing well. The
The
berries
bees
are
are
coming
dying
on like
off,
crazy.
though. Bees are in
Now, if
trouble.
we'd only put in a garden, look how great it would be doing. Now we should have put
I
in
don't
a
care.
garden.
I'm going to have raspberries and blackberries,
Yes, we are.
and I'm going to be eating
You're going
them.
to eat yourself sick on
There you go.
raspberries and
I
blackberries.
never get sick of them. And then when I go to
Oh,
New
they're
Hampshire,
so
I pick
good.
the blueberries. I never get sick of those. Berries, I could eat berries for.
Well, another thing that's growing real well is I had brought back a seed pod. I think I talked about it on the last show from New Jersey when I went out to the ocean to visit last year. And I brought back a seed pod, and I believe it's possible that the bush this came from was wiped out in the hurricane because that whole area there was pretty much demolished. But I started my little seedlings a month or so ago, and now I have a bunch of little seedlings, so I'm hoping that I've propagated this neat trumpet vine with the thistle-like seed pods on it that was so beautiful in New Jersey, and I got to bring some home and see what happens.
I think it is probably an angel trumpet.
It's something I didn't recognize it from anything I'd seen in our yard.
I believe, yeah, we planted one that ran
Well,
out.
yeah,
But it wasn't quite the
No,
same.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
This thing kind of zigs and kind of has weird structure to it. the way it's
Kind
grows.
of like my previous wife.
I'm not even going there.
What?
I don't know.
What's the next question?
I don't know.
She just totally
I don't know.
Her and my ex-wife are very good friends.
Yes, we are.
A little bit too good of friends. You got to watch out. for
Yeah, it makes him
But-
nervous,
Nah,
but it's all
what the
right.
hell. Just as long as nobody
That's right.
throws any knives.
We're not going to gang up on you or anything. I
No.
think that's what you're worried about.
But what I'm waiting for is for Dina, my ex-wife, to teach her how to ride a horse, because the opportunity. There's only one opportunity to put her on a really, really rough horse. But I don't think she will. She will put you on the smoothest horse, and you'll be fine. Go ahead. What's the next question?
I'm not talking to you. Forget it. I'm not talking to you. Okay, I want you to speak about the death of the tree.
Oh, yes.
The death. Finally, the slow
finally.
death.
I could not believe that the hornbeam that was down in front of Union Savings Loan hung on as long as it did. It leafed out this spring. It was supposed to be gone last
He
summer.
thought for sure he killed it last year. What
I
happened?
did kill it last year, but it kept on and on and on, and then it
And
leafed
everyone
out.
told you how
It was
ugly it looked.
gorgeous.
It was ugly.
No, the top was gorgeous. Yeah, the bottom is ugly. That's no doubt.
Well, it's dead,
It has
finally.
now been replaced with
Officially.
4 gorgeous roses.
Oh,
And
I haven't even seen that.
There's going to be a mass there of roses, and there's a
Oh.
reason for those roses. They have thorns, and hooks and things that poke and prod people when they
Like skateboarders.
when they you know, I have some good skateboarders.
I know. They
I
pick up
ran into
trash.
the well. They came by and they I thanked them
I
for
know,
picking up some
they
trash.
did.
They also were protecting the property from skateboarders that weren't as good.
They're being
there are
polite,
good ones out
absolutely.
there, and I was very much in support of when they built the
Skate park up there.
yeah, I did everything.
I would
that
imagine
could.
that's a
Donnie
liability,
Likens
you know,
was
I don't know.
big into that, and yeah. Well, and they never did repair it because there wasn't enough interest, unfortunately. But
Yeah, well,
the kids need some place to do stuff, so let's find it.
Okay, and while we're on the subject of failures,
What?
let's talk about why they don't call you the lawn doctor.
Oh, jeez.
There's a reason he's not
Where'd
the
you get
lawn-
this list?
I
But
don't
anyway,
know. It was my idea.
Yeah, last year and the year before with the drought, I put in sod.
Yeah, blame the drought.
Over there on, it was the drought.
I know
You
it
were out
was.
helping me
I know,
water.
I know.
On Vine Street, I put in sod. The sod died. I replaced the sod. That sod died. I sowed seed. That seed died. And finally, in the spring, I sowed seed again, and it didn't come up. And then we had a late frost. The conditions just kept pounding me. But this is not that unusual because I put in a yard with seed. Nothing came up. I put more seed down. I did it exactly the way it's supposed to be done, and the environmental conditions just, that's why I'm not the garden
That's
lawn
why you're
doctor.
not the lawn doctor.
You got that right.
Okay.
And it looks like this year I'm also not the garden grower, but maybe the
Although I
garden
have
doctor.
a beautiful lawn.
Yes, we do.
have
And
a
it's
very
because
nice-
I mow high.
I know. I mean, you can walk around the whole yard barefoot, and it's soft and green and lush.
And very
It's,
few
you
weeds.
know, yeah,
And
very nice.
very few problems. Yep. What else?
I love my lawn.
Oh, you know what?
Thank you.
Well, we're talking about failures. There was a plant.
Speaking
that
of
I was-
failures,
Tree. Hey, now
What?
there was a tree that I was supposed to move for a lady, and I just
Oh.
my wrists went out, and I had, with one
yeah,
hand.
when it
I'm
should
not
have been
gonna
done
dig
2
anything.
years earlier is
Well,
what my note
and then
says.
the next year when it was time to dig it, I didn't get out there to dig it, and then I went out the third year, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this thing is gigantic,
Oh
and it
my
was
gosh,
right
was
against
that
the
out in,
foundation. Yeah, and it was right
I
against
think
the
I
foundation.
remember her name.
And I started to
Carolyn?
dig on it, and there was
Sorry.
a large taproot, and it was impossible. So Fred and I did the best we could, and we tried to get it dug, and we moved it over, and we soaked it in and watered it. But I drove by here just recently to look at another dead tree that it
Is
was
it
not
dead
my
too?
fault. And
It died.
yeah, it's
Okay,
well,
Carolyn,
it's gone.
he's sorry. Whatever
It's gone.
happened.
I'm assuming it died.
Apologize.
I don't think it got up and walked
Call
away.
us. Let us know what happened. I
But
hope
you
you still
know,
have our
I've been
number.
in business. I've been doing this for 35 years. Okay, so there has got to be some failures, and I try
If you're
to learn.
98% successful, which is awesome, there's 2% of stuff happens.
My losses used to be about 1.5 to 2%.
which is
for,
extremely
for
low.
about 25 years.
But like you said,
And that's because
conditions.
I take a great deal of patience and pride in what I buy. I make sure the plant is in good condition. I check the root structure, growth. I want to know the grower. I want to know the environment. I want to make sure it's grown north of here. We take extreme care in the planting and in the maintenance afterwards for the period of time that it takes for that plant to root. And if for some reason I had made an error in the selection, because I never do two things the same. So over the 35 years, it's a little difficult to keep making things different. Okay, 40
This
years.
is true.
And so,
How old are you exactly?
Just never mind. And reaching out to try to use different perennials and different combinations and new plants and incorporating some plants that I wasn't fully accustomed to. If I made an error, I always guaranteed those plants and replaced them,
Yeah,
so that
that's
it was
true.
not out of the customer's pocket. Not indefinitely, of course. But
Well, yeah, but
for a period of
if it
time.
was failed because of something you did or a
But
bad
failure is got to be part of your experience, or
call, how do you learn?
You don't learn anything. You've got to try new things. You can't do the same thing all the time.
I would like to learn something here right
Bah!
now tonight.
What you want?
In case you guys are wondering why we just can't seem to stay in the frame, because we can't get comfortable sitting on this. Okay, my butt is killing me. We can't sit still.
We need
and
an
stay in the
upgrade
stool.
here.
I'm
Anybody-
making a petition for some kind of new stool.
Anybody got any bar stools or anything they want to part with?
Sheesh.
Little cushions.
We
on them,
can't sit still. We're like this the whole time. We're gonna do it on the couch next time.
We're gonna take care of this business.
We
over
mean
there.
the show we're gonna do on the couch next time.
Now-
yeah, easy. They say
now
in the
listen,
control room. Okay.
We really. Oh
He's
my
got,
goodness!
Look at this.
Look at this.
Oh yeah.
Hey, she's gonna be taller than me now.
Oh,
What
that is nice. Oh yeah. You know I have to have a hip replacement. So
Yes, she does.
This
Actually,
is
she
serious
does.
business
She needs
here.
a hip replacement. They're going to
Oh.
replace a few other parts. We haven't determined which
Oh,
ones yet.
that's
but-
awesome. Thank you. All
Hey,
right.
thank you.
You
Did
can
you
just
see
keep
me get a
wiggling.
cushion?
No, you sit there and wiggle.
Yeah, well, okay. Questions.
All right, I'm long
There
lost onto where I was
for
here.
crying out loud, they just pounded us with
Okay, you know
questions.
what? One of the questions was about the hummingbirds, and then a lady called
Oh,
in
yeah.
about the
That's
hummingbirds.
wonderful,
So,
yes.
Right. Oh, yeah, here's another question about a certain kind of weed. What is with the wild cabbage weeds? I have more of those and mare's tail weeds in my garden than I've ever had before. So
There's Edotes
there's a
and
question for you.
Dozidotes and little lambs eat ivy. Well, anyway.
He doesn't know.
Yes, I do. I think
Okay.
I do because I live in a rural area where
Oh, is
I am
that those
surrounded.
tall ones with the wispy?
Yeah, they
Ah.
look like a cabbage leaf. They're about 3 foot tall, and
And when
they
you go to
are
grab them, they hurt.
one of the plants that certain products that are used in the fields to control weeds do not affect. So we have a lot more mare's tail
okay.
and a lot more cabbage weed. And because it goes to seed in mass in the fields,
Oh, my.
it infests our yards and especially perennial gardens and regular gardens. So now,
That makes sense.
preen is or a weed preventer that is it claims to be safe to use in the garden, but in reality, if you put out your garden and you want to prevent the weeds, all you got to do is lay down a sheet of plastic, put a little sand over it to hold it down, or put some straw or
Yeah,
even
we used the
grass
straw
clippings.
left over that we used from insulation over the wintertime. Then we recycle that straw by using it as mulch pretty much in our garden, or we used to when we had a garden.
Yeah,
But,
and if
it
you put it down
works.
thick
It
enough,
really does work.
it'll keep the weeds down, and then it won't decompose. You can't plow that under. Don't try to do that.
But it rakes right off.
You can rake it sideways, do your plowing, and then rake it back and use it for about 2 or 3 years, and then you will get some decomposition. You decrease the evaporation, you decrease the amount of dirt and mud that's splashed up onto your fruit. The ground stays soft. Stays
You'll get
very
an
pliable.
occasional weed that comes up between the seam.
And if
you
it
know,
does,
but
it's soft. It
yeah,
pulls
it'll
right
pull
out.
right out of the
they're
straw.
easy to pull. But if you really want to be weed free, then you put plastic under between your rows, plastic down, then the straw on top of that, or
It
grass
seems
clippings.
to me
if you
that would
wish.
restrict the water that you can receive into that plant.
No,
by
all that's
covering
gonna
with
do is
plastic.
direct it. If
It
you've
won't
got-
direct it away.
No, if you've got plastic down there and you water it, however, or it rains
Okay.
on it, that water doesn't just sit there for 100 years.
It's gotta
It
go down the
runs-
holes
It runs
somewhere.
off
Okay.
into the plants. Instead of being wasted in between the rows, it goes directly.
And that
to the
hot
plant.
plastic close to the plants isn't a problem?
If it's
with
covered with mulch, it's not hot.
it? Okay.
Now, the
Carpet,
same
a
plastic.
lot of carpet remnants. You can use used carpets. We did that one year.
We used carpet, but you got to watch out for that because now I'm starting to pick some of it up out of the garden and everything.
Yeah, it starts to come
Once
apart.
it starts
and
coming apart,
then it's a
roll it up
mess.
and get
All
rid of
right.
it. But it does work for about 3 years. It's great. Especially AstroTurf. I kind of like my head up here.
It's
but-
like fake green grass.
Hey.
Okay, I do have a question
Yep.
here. What do you do with a flowering plant that doesn't flower? I have a whole list that either flower poorly or not at all, including Christmas cactus in my house, a tropical hibiscus in my house, a climbing rose, and a clematis. My husband, I can't give me my glass. My husband says I have a black thumb. My mother says get rid of my husband and everything will bloom again.
Well,
Okay.
that might be good
You want
advice.
to take that one?
I guess we can be the
Okay,
the
so-
garden doctor show
So
that
why
works
isn't
on
it flowering? All these flowering
Christmas
plants?
cactus.
I had one of those, never did flower, ever.
the biggest mistake that people make with flowering plants inside the house is they over care for it.
That's me.
A plant is not going to blossom unless it's stressed a little bit, unless it thinks that perhaps I am not going to survive and therefore I need to reproduce. And the only way I can reproduce is to produce a flower that will lead to a seed. Nature has to be stimulated a little bit on occasion.
Well.
That's where Viagra comes in. But anyway.
Oh
no,
my God, I believe you just said that.
So your Christmas cactus, you want to not give it as much light. Don't give it as much water. Decrease the temperature. And then when it's gone through this little phase of resting, you can put it in a dark closet if you wish, then bring it back out into the sunlight and it's going to go, oh, thank you, and give you blossoms. Now, the other plants, though, you may be doing the opposite. You may be under caring for them. It may be that there's not enough nutrients there, because also it is true that plants don't tend to bloom unless they have enough surplus. Okay. So on the exterior plants, it may be the opposite. You may need to fertilize.
See, that was my first thought was, oh, we'll shoot it with fertilizer, right? Well,
you may need to give it more light, or you may need to reposition it to where it prefers to be.
Well, that's true. We had a daylily I put in a spot, and it just never did bloom. The plant seemed okay, but it just never bloomed. He moved that daylily to a sunnier location, and it bloomed forevermore.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with root competition and everything else. And again, I'm going to go back to the compost and back to replenishing the soil with nutrients that are natural all the way across the spectrum, not just nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. That's all you're throwing when you're throwing fertilizer on there, artificial fertilizer, even when you use some of the organics. But if we could get back to seaweed, if you're in town, you can use seaweed. If you're outside of town, you cannot, because it will attract
skunks and possums.
Well, it'll attract mostly the deer and the animals that like the salt.
They're going to eat that. Okay.
They want the salt. But in town, we don't seem to have near as much problem as we do outside of town. Listen, it's been a joy to come to you later.
As always,
we know the reason why things were delayed, because we have to take care of the business of the city.
That's right.
And the business.
Business comes first, and pleasure after.
And this has been quite enjoyable.
Always
now,
a pleasure.
We want to see you guys out at some of these events that are going on.
We're going to be out and about.
Oh, yeah. A lot of effort put into this.
And if you have any questions, go to that little office downtown. They've got information about everything. It's a really neat little place.
Yeah, the signs up, and you can get these beautiful chapeaux.
Oh, check this hat out. Yeah, a lot of the guys are wearing them for the.
What do you mean, a lot of the guys? You see any guys?
Well,
I'm wearing this thing from now until the end, until this thing terminates.
All right.
I will be.
You will see
walking
him,
up and down the street.
we'll be at a couple of the shows, a couple of events.
By the way, if you're wondering why I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, I have skin grafts, most of you are aware of, and I have to protect myself from the sun. And I do not wear sunscreen like I should, like I'm supposed to.
Imagine
and this is for that. And also, a long sleeve shirt keeps you cooler. This particular shirt is a design that I was supposed to be wearing all this time, but couldn't afford now that prices come down. It's actually a wicking, it wicks the moisture away, and it keeps you cool while you're wearing it.
He likes his new shirt.
I like the shirt because it does actually
It's actually a
cooler.
fishing shirt, and it's got a little vent in the back, fresh air gets in, and very nice shirt, but he always swears by long sleeves, cover up.
Long sleeve shirt actually does keep you cooler.
It does.
Listen, it's been a real pleasure. I think that according to that, we have 2 minutes.
I don't know.
Do we have 2 minutes?
He says we have a minute.
1 minute. What are you going to do in a minute?
Hi, Dad. Hi.
Hi, grandchildren. We have a chip right here that we're going to try to get on the next time.
A little film we made way too late to get it on the show tonight.
See yourself. There you are.
The grandkids will be on. Yeah.
We love you all. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate your comments, and we want to see you at the festivities.
Thank you.
See you next time.
The garden doctor.